Tit, you? What of Kimberl and Grivar? Don't tell me you're all that's left. Step back and let them talk. They fought a good fight but fell to Cairn of the Well. In defeat, they were fed to the voices of Nerat. I'm all that's left. How about you? How'd you slither your way here? They're dead? So the militants have fallen and you're all that's left. Fuck us all. Kairos really is one. And I didn't slither. It was more of a surreptitious crawl. Speaking of lowly vermin, what are you doing with this lowlife? Whoa! They clearly like each other. Lowlife? Watch how you address me, old man. Not you, her! The old man jabs a finger in Ab's direction. How'd you let this old huckster trick you into her friendship? If you needed an adoptive mother, there are less quarrelsome whores that would do the job with less backtalk and disease. Good lord, man! We are associates. The details are none of your concern. Cagey, aren't you? You and Ab should get along just fine. This is good. I like knowing Ab's entering into a Fademinder. About time the old hag learned some humility. Let's just say I have a greater respect for the inevitability of Kairos, not saying I've changed my mind and wish I had hitched a ride with a flotilla of cowards. Guess I'm trying to protect the tears in my own way, as I'm sure you think you are as well. You think you and those salty old queens you so adored were the only casters unwilling to flee? You fools were just dumb enough to wave your arms until the Archons noticed you. Some of us, well, okay, one of us still knows the ancient art of subtlety. Need me to give you two a moment? A moment? Hardly. I can't think of the last time Wagstaff has kept up his banter for more than a minute or two. Ever since you aged into that face of a worn tangerine, we've had all problems keeping things up around you. Speaking of improbable feats of tumescence, is that little apex boy of yours still ramming your stern on the regular? Oh God! Gotta go have a good one. Hey, the Hobbits! Oh, have a very good evening, man. Or good day, I should say. Thank you for watching, dude. I really do appreciate it. Remain silent. Aldinus died of his wounds from the Battle of the Gates of Judgment. How about you? I can only assume the reason you're here is to find some new apprentices and fuck them. That's what I'd do. Remain silent? Well, yes and no. Yes with the apprentices, but I don't know. I just might stay here. We've stumbled upon something unusual here. Not sure how permanent a solution living here might be, but been trying to make the most of it. But your friend here changes things. The Tidecasters point at you with a scowl. We always knew outsiders would come, but short of Graven Ash showing up, a Fangbanner is about as terrifying a notion as we've imagined. I assume someone pointed you towards me to speak for the settlement. If there are matters to discuss, then so be it. I may not like it, but I do lead these people. Frankly, only because nobody else can. That stone-straddling fool Jaspos will talk himself into believing he's up to the task, but don't believe his bluster for a moment. Anyway, I'll just ask the question everyone's wondering. What are your intentions with us? For now, the settlement may continue to operate independently. He raises an eyebrow, observing you with unmasked skepticism. Unexpected, Fademinder. Perhaps your visit was worth the interruption. Making a life without someone breathing down my neck is all I've ever wanted. Thank you? He appears genuinely disgusted with this halfway cordial offering, and shakes his head violently to banish the feeling. With a satisfied nod, Wagstaff cups his hand and bellows. The court will extend mercy. Wagstaff's celebratory yell echoes through the makeshift village and is answered by distant cries of relief and sobs of joy. Thank you, Fademinder. I knew that the day would come that we'd be discovered, and I imagined a much bloodier scenario. In this regard, I'm happy to be made a fool. Life here in the wound isn't easy, and we always assume outsiders will bring death, not help. Your leniency is the sort of surprise we needed in these difficult times, and though I never would have guessed this, your arrival may be the sign of good things to come. These people here seem guilty of little more than trying to survive. I'm happy to be of service. If I may take you literally for a second, let's say I was in need of someone who can come and go from this refuge and handle some matters for me. Would you be willing? It's hard for me to leave things unattended, and if I were to perish, Depends on what you have in mind. There's an old rival of mine still out there, a sage named Phoebe. He twists the rope on the end of his belt, grimacing. Yes, we're from rival schools. No, this isn't just a case of an unsettled score. I'd live and let live, but she poses an actual threat to the wound. She had knowledge of my plans to journey north to trace Cairn's path in these mountains, which may expose us. She could bring a slew of homeless sages here, probably followed by a gaggle of spies. It's not worth the risk. She needs to die. The stone is matter of fact almost casual. The problem is finding her. She had a mutual contact, Melita, who used to spend this time of the year in Leighton's Crossing. I remember Melita! We've seen her before! If the two are still in touch, she'll be able to point me in the right direction. All of Bastard's wound will be in your depth, most of all me. Can I trust your help? How do you know her? Over a decade ago, the School of Tides and the School of Ink and Quill tried, yet again, to discuss peace. She represented her school. I was forced to represent our end of this fruitless mediation. It was all a farce to get to know a few of us. Figured out who should be spied upon. Several span later, some of my work was discovered by the sages. Fucking word thieves. Every last one of them. I'll find her. Thank you. This matter has haunted me for quite a while. If my stupidity caused the wound to be uncovered, best not to think of it. You have been unlike other servants of Kairos I've encountered. We are indebted to your patience and reason. One more thing, Fatebinder. If you do kill her, be sure to gather her belongings. Very important. That's the only way I can verify that you found the right sage. It would also, his words falter as he chokes up with a halting smile. It would also mean a great deal to see my old scrolls back, on the off chance she still carries them. It is a pretty petty and vain request, but if you've been robbed before, you probably know the feeling.
I feel much improved.
What else do you want from me? What do you do here as one of the leaders? He shakes his head. I'm the only true leader, as I've said before, but I won't belabor the point. He clears his throat. 3 years ago, I stumbled across those old walls and very quickly found I wasn't alone. A clutch of hungry and sick tearsmen had stumbled upon this enclave as well. I had come here to escape Kairos' force, but I'm nothing if not driven by noblesse oblige. I decided I'd wait anchor for a bit and help out. His staff dipped into the pool at his feet, sending ripples across its surface. Water was both the problem and the solution. These refugees were surrounded by it, but couldn't drink it without picking up whatever old walls-induced disease lived within it. Withering rot, we call it. What happens to those with withering rot? You waste away in agonizing fashion, that's the short of it. The water here slakes thirst for a moment. Those poisoned reported feeling dry no matter how they drank. They pissing and shitting out more than you put in, while being desperately thirsty all the time. Your skin shrivels and cracks. Eventually you die, a pathetic, desiccated husk of a person. That's what I found when I first happened upon the wound. A lot of scared, dying folks that weren't long for the world. Nobody was going to right that ship except me, so I stayed and they lived. And those people accepted you as a leader willingly. Did I knock them around first? Is that what you're asking? No, these were survivors of some battle where Cairn brought a keep down on their heads and opened a route to this enclave in the process. They were starving, lost, terrified of the bane. They came to me for help, since my magic could keep them safe. Times sure have changed, folks begging a Tidecaster to save them, and all. Strange how the general attitude toward our school shifted dramatically when Kairos' minion marched into the town. Let him continue. To a Tidecaster, these are trivial matters. So long as I'm here and making a solution to purify the water, it is a simple matter. I make life here possible. It's a difficult burden, but I'm honored my talents are put to good use. Tell me about the Tidecasters. She didn't wax nostalgically already. With a nudge of his staff, the old man glares at Ebb. Apparently my information is out of date. I sure thought I was the last of our school, but apparently I hadn't looked under the rock you've been calling home. We are the student of Occulted Jade, Archon of Tides. She was one of the founding pioneers of the Tears, and her school has been the longest running institution of learning in the peninsula. Don't listen to what the sages say. Why did you leave with the others? I was one of the few to stay, and why not? This is my home. I don't care about Kairos' war or the slaughter sport of these Archons, but I also wasn't about to sail west to die of starvation on the ice seas. The promised land are a lie. The ocean goes onward, or maybe you fall off the edge, or wrap around to the east coast of Teradus and then right in Kairos' lap. If I'm to die, let it happen in my father's coast and my mother's land. What have you been doing since the school departure? I spent the first few span dealing with some unfinished business. A half dozen sages had wronged some friends of mine, and I'll admit vengeance occupied me for a time. When Kairos' force came, I decided to stay far from the beaten path. I set out to the mountain to find privacy. This place was serendipity writ large. When others stumbled upon this place, it somehow shifted from hovel to home. I did not expect or ask for the responsibility of caring for these people, but now that I wear it, the mental is comforting. What did you do in the school before the war? What was your title exactly? I don't think we've heard a ceremonial office from the instructor, most dedicated to diddling the students. Oh, come off it. You enjoyed that privilege as much as I did. Besides, they'll listen more closely if you make them feel special. Oh God. Provost of Antiquities was the official title. My life work was the curation of the school's past, the relics, the sermons of occulted jade, the life stories of the Tidecasters' elders past, that sort of work. A fellow historian. I didn't realize the Tidecaster gave a care to the historical record. I wonder how your note would compare to the Chronicles of the Sages. I'm sure I could fill in countless gaps in your accounting. The Tidecaster glares at Lentry with contempt. A quiet hiss escapes Heb as she turns to Lentry, a sour expression splashed across her face. Ah, yes, let the historical record note that Lentry takes the hint. Coughing nervously, the sage takes several steps back and falls silent. I love it. My personal interest has always been the fluid magics of our school. Most of the school embraces the mighty power of Gravelight. I almost can't blame them for me. Water, mist, ice, and fog have always been more immediate, more real, more worthy of understanding. Why didn't the Tidecasters stay and fight Kairos? If I may be so bold to answer your question with a question, why do you think it was? Not many folks seem to know the truth, so I'm curious what one of Kairos' soldiers believe happened. Hey Bob, what's up, man? How you doing, dude? No worries, man. I'm just so happy to see you. How you doing, man? What's up? Rational self-interest. The Tidecaster knew Kairos was coming years beforehand and rightly feared death. A sensible guess. We Tidecaster practice quite deadly magics. One might rightly assume we'd be eager for the excuse to display our martial prowess. Odd then that we'd all run and hide, don't you think? The truth is our Archon lacked the will to resist. Scores of Tidecasters craved war, but lost heart at the notion of facing the enemy without occulted jade leading the charge. Enough. I don't wish to revel in the cowardice of the Tidecasters. I made my decision to stay. I'm not pretending I'm some brave hero, but at least I'm trying to hold on to some little port in the storm. How do you purify the water? I'm doing great, man. I'm doing super good. It's impossible to convey the intricacies, but suffice it to say that I must infuse water with Gravelight energy. This combined with trace amounts of alcohol and beastman blood counteracts the mortifying effects of the old wall's water. I see that look in your eyes. Worry not. The beastmen willingly give these vital fluids when they can. It's a tiring process, but it produces clean and restorative water. Jaspos product is an amateur's imitation and will never sustain this place in the long run. CB Rockers, thank you so much for the host. Do appreciate it. That's why I've taken an insipid moniker as my apprentice to safeguard this process, and unlike most, she knows just when to stay out of my way. What should I know about Jaspos? His eyes glaze over at the mention of his rival's name. Ha! If only that rock pounder would just shut up. He loves the sound of his own voice. He grips the roping of his waist, squeezing it with a clenched fist. Unfortunately, his forge is on the upper level, so his soliloquies flow down here to ensure my misery. This place has better acoustic than the Academy of Tides. Lucky me. He thinks because he can cleanse the water, not as well as I do, mind you, that he can pontificate at all hours of the day. I nearly drowned myself once rather than listen to one of his tirades, but I knew the moment my body was discovered, he'd be raining another righteous speech about cowardice down upon my corpse. That wouldn't do. This is awesome, by the way. I love that rivalry is great. Look, I'll say it plain. Jaspos has a big mouth and he talks incessantly about transforming bastard wounds into something great, but the truth is that he's just out for himself. He slams his staff into the ground, mouth quivering as he speaks. I built this place from nothing, and he thinks he can come in and claim it when the odd work has already been done. Not on my watch. I heard a beast woman here once held sway. He cocks an eyebrow. Ah, Reef Talon. Curious case, that one. She plowed her way into these caves a year ago with her cubs, a vicious fighter for certain, Bane of the Bane, I like to say. She took charge of the tribe but had a curious way about her, the most fascinating beast I'd ever met, oddly pensive, strangely polite, prone to bathing. Things really got unusual when after a bloody dust-up with the Bane, Reef Talon healed some other members of the patrol with her touch. I can't say heal with a straight face. Those who had their wounds tended by Reef Talon felt spectacular for a few days, but by week's end a whole host of new maladies overtook them. Reef Talon was a mystic. She claimed she wasn't, and I've never known a beast to downplay her strength, but as sure as water is wet, she could mend wounds with a mere touch, so she must have had some training. Having seen what her healing did, insights tell me she would be hesitant to discuss her mystic training. What sort of problems happened to those who were healed? It started subtle, really. Folks treated by Reef Talon just slept a little less each night at first, claiming they felt too hale and hearty to sit in bed. Later, they'd be exhausted from days spent waking, yet unable to sleep. The old Tidecaster shifts his weight with a sigh, and after days of being sleepless, other things would start to go. Tempers, memories, worst of all, a few who could work sigils lost a talent. Imagine spending an afternoon listening to Jaspos droning on about the virtues of pulverizing stone. You'd be frustrated and exhausted, somewhat murderous in intent, but for some reason you can't sleep. Night turns to day, which turns to night. We took to calling those affected the sleepless, and warned others of what became from those cured by Reef Talon. What became of her? A few span back, a patrol of disfavored were in the mountains, searching areas struck by Karen's magic, so they said. While they stumbled onto our refuge and being disfavored, were shocked and appalled, not just by our squatting in the old walls, but by the beastmen living with us. A few even deferred to Reef Talon during the parley, and seeing humans look to a beast woman was rather appalling to those iron thugs. The meeting quickly turned violent. Man leads beast, not the other way around. Such things should not require an explanation. We bested the disfavored, but Reef Talon fled during the altercation. I guess a combination of guilt from warping her fellows with magic and the feeling of shame that her presence roused the disfavored to attack us. I have no proof, but I think Reef Talon fled to save us from her. There's plenty of folks who hate her, but I for one don't think her actions were ever malicious. Protecting this place is all she cares about, and she probably realized she had to go to save us all. Regardless of her specific motivations, I'm certain she fled deeper into the old walls, not topside. Someone claims she dove into the water, another claims she accessed a teleporter. Either way, she hasn't been into the village since the disfavored arrival. If anyone can survive the depths of the old walls alone, it's Reef Talon. That said, she'd be gone a while now, and I'm not sure I'd wager money on her survival to date. What happened to the Sleepless? When Reef Talon fled, almost all of the Sleepless went with her. Whether they chased her out of anger or fear of being deserted, I don't know. You might find a few here in the refuge, but most of them have taken their chances in the depths of the old walls. Heisley, a woman whose life is already marred by the tragedy of wedlock to Jaspos, was the last person healed by Reef Talon. She is still cogent. Who knows how long that'll last? Poor woman. Ugh. The Sleepless grow more detached from reason with each day spent waking. I half imagine most went into the old walls to find death at the talons of the Bane. If I lost the ability to rest, if my magic was taken from me, I'd probably do the same. Good. Okay. One of us leveled up, apparently, from talking, which is great. Give him some endurance. That's what we can get as well. Defender's Watch. Yeah, let's give him that. It's fine. It's fine. Cool.
I got it.
Save. Let's save. And let's call it a day for night, guys. For now. Thank you guys for watching the stream. I really do appreciate it. I've been streaming for a long time today. I streamed for like, you know, from 10 a.m. this morning, about 10 a.m. this morning to like 3:30 p.m., almost 4, and then I took a break, and now I came back at 7:30 for more of this, and now it's about 10. I gotta go to bed. I'm working tomorrow, and I want to have a good night's sleep, so I don't want to take too much time and continue this too crazy. Oh, also the stream is lagging for some reason. Hold on. Stream is lagging. Can you guys hear me still? Yeah, probably. So, guys, thank you so much for watching the stream. I really do appreciate it. You guys have been great. I'm going to give you guys some gold because you've been amazing. And we're going to be hosting somebody. Don't forget, guys, that you can vote for what kind of characters we'll be playing in our playthrough of Pillars of Eternity 1 and 2. By voting, you can just go here and you can vote if for the alignment of our character. Other than that, I will be hosting somebody. Just give it a second. And Bob, I'm super happy to see you, man. I hope we will see each other very soon. I miss you, dude. And let's go and give some love to Pims. Pims is streaming right now. So it's another bearded Canadian streamer, and he's playing right now Persona 5. So if you guys are into that, give him some love. I will see you guys tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. EST, I think. Hold on. Yeah, 7:30 p.m. EST for more of Tyranny. So I'll see you guys then. Bye-bye, guys.